And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Find us at JBandGoldwaterShow.com as well, and follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines, they are open, and you can be a part of our conversation by plugging us a note, and Darren will put it into the program. And over the next couple of hours, we'll fuss and discuss all of what we've got to say here. We do have Mike Yu coming up at 12:30 today with Gamecock Central. A lot to get to with him, including this 3-game winning streak that the basketball team is on. We'll talk some Gamecocks in the Super Bowl, some team notes with the football guys, and maybe even get his thoughts on the Super Bowl. And, I don't know, how about Tom Brady? ESPN broke the story this weekend that he was retiring, and magically on a Monday, there isn't a word on ESPN's website about Tom Brady, the story that they broke, that he was retiring, but they hadn't said anything about it. Because
they said it all weekend, though.
Yeah, they might have screwed up is what happened. We'll find out. But, I don't think it – something tells me – without Brady making a statement yet, he hadn't said a word. Something tells me that the Brady camp ain't happy with the boys at ESPN.
I think they wanted to break it. I think the only holdup here, he's got his own production company, and they do really, really, really good work. So he didn't want to be a distraction, but the word got out. I mean, I'll be stunned if he's not retiring. I just think he wants to do it his way.
I agree with you. I agree with that. I totally agree. I do think he's probably retiring, but he might play some games with it now, just because, he did, like you said, he's got a production company. Probably a way to make some money on that deal too. And it didn't work out like that. But that's coming up. We got Gene Sapakoff ahead at about 1:30 this afternoon as well. We got some college football news to get into. State hoops this weekend. Good weekend for the SEC and the SEC Big 12 Challenge and all that to discuss here. Hopefully all of you, Adam, what's going on at Auburn? Auburn's, they're having, it's funny. Last year, and I know that Austin Davis just stepped down as their OC, so it's a little bit different. But last year, Auburn poached the Gamecocks for a couple of coaches who were planning on sticking around under Shane Beamer, and everybody thought, well, what's going on in South Carolina? And it ended up kind of working out, I guess, for Beamer and the Gamecocks. And then this year, it's happening at Auburn. They hadn't been able to really keep any consistency on the staff over there. But we're going to talk about that as well. But for all of you that got snow this weekend, congratulations. We saw flurries in the area. I had some fun with Rob Fowler and Dave Williams on Twitter and about the snow forecast around here and all. But pretty much in the low country, a big dud. I know some others I think Georgetown got some good snow and stuff like that. So congratulations to you snow lovers.
My daughter loved it. I mean, she wanted to go sledding down the concrete street, the asphalt, because it was snowing. It was like, let's do that. Remember when we went snowing, a couple years ago, or sledding? So, it's a little different. Then she wanted to make a snowball. So there was I wouldn't even say a paper layer thick snow dusting on the grill cover. So she tried to make a snowball with that. and then just like planted it on me instead because that wasn't happening. She had fun.
Yeah, I know. Poor kids. They just wanted to see a little snow. They saw some. I mean, Saturday morning we were in Mount Pleasant, and it was blowing all over the place, but not much. Not much. But yesterday was a good day. Another one in the NFL. I'd be lying to you if I said that I thought that the Bengals had much of a chance once the score was 21-3. I just thought, man, wow, I didn't see this coming, but they're going to be back. They got Joe Burrow. They got all this talent. They just got to beef up that offensive line. But it looks like it's going to be the Chiefs again. And that's what we get for thinking that too soon. The Bengals, for the first time in 33 years, are back in the Super Bowl. It's their third Super Bowl appearance all time. Funny stat here, had San Fran pulled it off, they would have faced San Fran for the third time. It would have been San Fran and Cincinnati. All of the Bengals appearances in the Super Bowl would have been against the 49ers. But San Francisco couldn't get it done. So that's what it looks like, though, man. I was not stunned to see the Rams win it. I did think that the 49ers would get it done, but I was stunned to see Cincinnati come back and do that. I wasn't shocked to see them win the game. But when they were down 18 points, yes, I was shocked to see them win the game, especially on the road in Kansas City. And, Burrow, you could tell before the first play of the game that every fan in that ballpark at Arrowhead had heard his comments last week saying, hey, I played in the SEC. There isn't a ballpark here that's too loud for me. And they took that personally. But Joe Burrow got the last laugh because they won the game last night and they're into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City is widely known as one of the loudest, if not the loudest, stadiums in the NFL and toughest to play. It shocked me that they won the game, and then however many times you want to amplify that once they were already down 18, go ahead and amplify that once they were down 18. This Joe Burrow legend is growing, and now the question is, against the defense of the Rams, again, it's my same question, the same reason I've been betting against them for 2 straight weeks now. Is that offensive line going to hold up against Aaron Donald and company? I don't think so. I've been saying it's the Rams for a couple of weeks. I'm still leaning that way. I'm definitely not changing now. I thought they'd win. I thought they'd win more comfortably than that, especially with how that game played out. I mean, 49ers couldn't move the ball. They made Garoppolo beat them. That's not how the 49ers are going to win the game. So the fact that game was as close as it was, tip of the cap to Shanahan, to the Niners. Now you've got a strange Super Bowl, like Rams and Bengals. I mean, if anyone saw it right when I set up the live streams, I even put 49ers and Bengals accidentally, and Mackenzie caught that for me, and I changed it. It just sounds weird. Rams, Bengals, Super Bowl. Okay.
I know. I love it because I love seeing some different flavor in the biggest game in the sport. I like that. I enjoy that. I'm thankful that there's a playoff that allows that. If that makes sense to anybody out there. No, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but it's a team that lost 7 games in the regular season in the Super Bowl. 12 combined losses this year between the Rams and the Bengals, and they're playing in the Super Bowl. I wonder what the most combined losses is in a season between 2 teams to play in a Super Bowl. Maybe that's a little stat we can look up and try to get that out there maybe tomorrow or something like that. But it was the Bengals defense is what won the game. I mean, they only gave up 3 points in the second half, and that includes overtime when they were able to get that pick. So, I mean, it was their defense that did it. It was an offense that was that certainly was good enough by scoring 17 points in the second half, but nothing that was running away with it or anything like that. But it was the defense. I mean, the defense got it done. And so if the defense can travel to Los Angeles in the next couple of weeks, we could be in for a real show on our hands here.
And how about Kansas City gets the ball to go start overtime? Who amongst us didn't see that coin toss and think, game over?
Here we go.
Right? Are you really going to stop Mahomes again? Shut him down all half. Great. Yeah. You really going to stop him again when he's got the ball to begin overtime? Yep. They sure did. And we talked about this after the overtime from a week ago, That's now just the second time in the new era of these overtime rules in the playoffs that the team that lost the coin toss won the game in the playoffs. I think it's now like 10-2 or 11-2, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, well, and you know what? What happened in this overtime is what didn't happen last week. Defense stepped up, made a play, and they went and won the game because of it. And so there's another this week. The overtime rule isn't getting much attention because it worked out in favor of the large majority of talking points out there, which both teams had a chance to score, and the second team scored and they won the game, but they both had the ball. So it's not as I still think the overtime rule they should probably address it and talk about it and figure out if they need to make a change or not. But just because this week it worked out doesn't mean that we should forget about the conversation we had last week, just so everybody is kind of on the same page here. At least that's my personal opinion of it. But it worked out, man. It was another great day of football is what I was happy about. And I really appreciated the defense in both championship games. And by the way, this is the Rams' first Super Bowl. Or this is the Rams' second Super Bowl in the last couple of years, but they're looking for their first Super Bowl win since 1999 when they were the greatest show on turf. They did, though, Darren, win the NFL championship as the Los Angeles Rams back in 1951. I'm sure Gene Sapakoff remembers that well, so we'll ask him about it. So they have won a championship in LA before, just so everybody knows.
And here's a strange little twist on this. It's been well known how road fans have dominated SoFi, right? We saw it again yesterday. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a road game, but it was closer to that than it was a typical home game. That's for sure for the Rams. For the Super Bowl, crowds aren't nearly as boisterous, right? Because you've got two groups that are generally traveling across the country to get there. You've got so much corporate money there that you don't know who's going to be in the stadium from a fan's perspective. It could be a far easier environment to play at home, if you will, for the Rams than in almost any of the games they played at home this year.
Could be. I'm not ignoring what you're saying there. I'm asking if you've looked at ticket prices.
Have not. I'm not planning on flying to LA for them. I bet you they're not going to be hitting any type of all-time marks. They're going to be in the lower side because Rams fans haven't been going. I mean, you'll have some bandwagoners try and drive up the secondary market. You'll have Bengals fans trying to go. I mean, that's for sure, but this isn't one of those sexy Super Bowls, right? This isn't one that's going to drive ratings or demand stuff out of two fan bases when you're probably only really getting it from that Cincinnati side. I bet they're not too high. That's my guess.
Well, on StubHub, the cheapest one is $5,796.
I don't know the typical Super Bowl prices are generally stupid high.
Yeah, I if my team never ever went to a Super Bowl, I'd pay that probably.
I've been the first football game I was ever at in person, any level of football, high school, college, pro, was Super Bowl 22 when the Redskins beat the Broncos out in San Diego. I still remember it. It was awesome. It was my 8th birthday. It always falls right around my birthday, and it was my 8th birthday present for my parents, and my dad, my sister, and I went out there, and it was awesome. Fell down 10-0. I cried in the stands because they were down 10-0 and fumbled the kickoff after that, and they got it back, even though I'm still not sure they did, and went on to win 42-10.
What would you pay? What were the ticket prices?
I was 8. I didn't pay a thing.
No. You remember what they? You remember? You don't
no. I'll ask my mom. She might remember.
Yeah, find out. I'd be interested to know. I'm looking here. All right, so the most expensive ticket. There are 18 tickets left in the owner's VIP suite that you could purchase, and those are for the everyday low price of $97,000. But outside of the owner's suite, Darren, the lower club level, section 130, So right behind the Rams sideline, or on the Rams sideline, right behind the Rams bench. Row 6, 2 tickets, instant download, each $27,936.
It's
So
not cheap.
55 grand to sit behind the bench.
It's not cheap. A lot of that's the corporate dollars because that's who has these tickets. It's impossible to get your hands on one. And then once you have them, the demand is such because it's hard to actually get your hands on. So the ones that want to go buy in, there's your regular supply and demand. I still think, though, my guess is that it'll be lower than other Super Bowls. My guess.
Yeah. 504, $5,796 on row 6. That's in the upper deck. Row 6, though. Row 9. Whatever. That's not terrible. You're not at the very top. 9th row, only $5,800. So
that's it.
Congratulations to all of you who can afford to do that, because it's not me. If I bought 2 tickets to the Super Bowl today for $5,800, I would not be returning from the Super Bowl. My wife would make sure of that. So
no.
It's wow, unbelievable. The Bengals roster, by the way, there will be no matter what happens in the game, a Clemson player or her players and South Carolina player to put on a Super Bowl ring this year. There are members from both programs on both rosters. The Bengals feature 6'5" rookie offensive lineman Jackson Carman from Clemson, T. Higgins, obviously, and DJ Reader, who's been in the league, I think, for 5 or 6 years. And they also have Elliott Fry, former kicker at Carolina, whose record was just broken by Parker White. But Elliott Fry is currently on the injured list because he has been he's been on the practice squad because he's been on the injured list. But he would get a ring, obviously, if they can win the game. And then on the Rams side of it, Clemson's Tremaine Ankrum, offensive lineman, is a Ram. And how about the rookie year for Carolina's Ernest Jones, who maybe surprised some last year when he took off for the NFL. But he had 61 tackles this year, kind of in a reserve role in that defense. And really, you call it a reserve role, but he's played a lot of football, especially the second half on. I mean, he's had 8, 9, 10 tackles in multiple games. So he's had a great rookie season. I don't know that they thought they were getting that out of the 103rd pick in the draft necessarily when they brought him in. But good year for Ernest Jones. So from Carolina, either Elliott Fry or Ernest Jones are going to have a ring, and from Clemson, either Tremaine Ankrum or Jackson Carman, T. Higgins, and DJ Reader. So there will be some Super Bowl flavor coming back to the great state of South Carolina here in the next couple of weeks. And the Super Bowl is less than 2 weeks away on a Sunday night, and we can renew that conversation as well, because even though the NFL is a Sunday event, I get it. I still think that the Super Bowl should be played on a Saturday.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no question, and it's never, ever, ever going to change. I did really, really enjoy the golf ending on Saturday, though, and I think more than that, maybe the golf starting on Wednesday is what I enjoyed, because it was a loaded field, and then you had that front end that you don't normally get, and then it's done Saturday, and you get the NFL Sunday.
Yeah,
I'd like that to be more of a thing, but the reason it won't be is because Sunday ratings are better, and they'll back it up once the NFL's done. But that's why that's the way it was this weekend. They moved it for that, or I don't know if they generally have it that way, but that's definitely why it was that way this time.
Brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant move.
Mm-hmm.
Great move for ratings. But yeah, NFL is not losing money on the Super Bowl. They're making more and more money every year. So there will be no discussion of moving that to a Saturday. Although, I don't care what the reasoning is, college football should absolutely have that discussion, and they would make more money by moving it to a Saturday. I'm not sure why nobody can figure that out and why they try to hide that, but it's not true that it's better on a Monday night. It's just not, and it's not fair to the fans.
That's it right there.
I mean, it's just not. Yeah, I mean, we're staying up, till our eyes are closing, trying to watch a national championship game on a Monday night from a sport we have followed so intently and so passionately all year, and they force you to stay up on a Monday night until 12:30 to see the end of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. They should play the game on a Saturday at 7:00. That's it. I mean, it's just not that hard. I don't care what else is going on a Saturday. People will watch the damn thing. Do it. I don't know why they don't do it. All right, into hoops, and we do have Mike Yuva ahead in about 10 minutes to get into some Gamecock stuff, which obviously will involve South Carolina's victory, quad 1 victory this weekend over Texas A&M. It's their third straight, and the things that we spoke about last week that have been kind of trending positively for Carolina happened again this weekend. And I'm telling you, I put out a little tongue-in-cheek tweet on Saturday night because, well, quite frankly, I do get sick and tired of people that know nothing about it, getting on message boards and Twitter and bashing Frank, and then they don't say a word when they win. And they also can't acknowledge some things that are going well in those wins. Oh, it was just Georgia and Vanderbilt. Yeah, but how'd they do it? And that's what we were trying to talk about last week. Give me the juice, man. We want to know the juice. And that continued this weekend at Texas A&M. And Frank continues to own the Aggies and own Buzz Williams. He knows them inside and out. Buzz knows Frank as well. But it was they had some struggles in the first half, but they got it cleaned up. And the guys that needed to play well, for the most part, played well, especially in the second half. And South Carolina's on a 3-game winning streak, and they jumped up, I think, 12 spots in the net rankings. That's been kind of moved around a little bit today. But now they have 3 more quad 1 opportunities. And Kentucky's playing really good basketball, and that's the only one I look at and go, ooh. Tennessee is a winnable game this coming Saturday at home. Mississippi State tomorrow night is a winnable game. And I thought, Darren, last week, you go into this quad 1 stretch of 4 straight, and you say, all right, if you can get out of there at 2-2, you kind of pass that first test of survival mode. Now you turn to this next group of games, Ole Miss, Georgia on the road, and you really need to probably go win both of them because they're not very good. But, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. And they're going to have to win tomorrow night to advance the logic behind what I'm saying here. But now all of a sudden, if they go win tomorrow night, now you're going, well, now wait a second here. What if they go 3-1 in this little quad 1 stretch? And then some conversations that we've been having, but other people aren't willing to yet. That's fine. I understand that. They haven't been worthy of being in the conversation. But then some other people start to go, well, now, whoa, hold on. This team's got 15 wins. All right.
Yeah. It's fair to have those discussions right now, which is why it was right of us to stay pretty tempered when things weren't looking good and say, look, okay, it doesn't look good, but let's see if it can get turned around. We're about halfway through the season at this point. And to your point, another efficient offensive night. I think it was their 4th most efficient game offensively of the entire year. They're starting to find, I don't know if it's fair to say an identity, but they got some stones in them to have these second half comebacks again, like they've been doing. And not only to charge back in the second half, once they got the lead, they never gave up the lead. I then looked ahead. I did a lot of diving into this whole Mississippi State game. First of all, you're getting the Aggies on a slide, right? That's their 4th straight. And on paper, you look and say, oh, Mississippi State's lost 3 of 4. Yeah, none of them have been at home. One of them was to Texas Tech. One of them was Kentucky, who is playing by far the best in the SEC, them and Auburn. I'll still put them right up there neck and neck. There's nothing Mississippi State does offensively that doesn't match up with what South Carolina can handle defensively, with the exception of the inside. They get like about 35% of their offensive rebounds, and that was a problem against Texas A&M. The Aggies just couldn't capitalize on it. If you can make sure that Mississippi State isn't piling up second chance points, if you can handle the inside, they can win this game. It's a winnable game for them, and that's the primary key. And I'll throw in, don't have to go on a 19-1 run again, because sooner or later that luck runs out.
Yeah, good guard play is what Frank has desperately needed, and it's been good. I do kind of wonder why they continue to give Devin Carter the keys to at least crank the car up from the point guard position. He's not your point guard. He's Jacoby Wright's the point guard on this team, and it's that's probably how it should be. I don't know if he'll make that change. Frank will generally kind of get with a starting lineup that he's comfortable with, and then make changes based off of it. And he'll just stay with his starters. But Jacoby Wright should be the point guard on this team. I don't think there's much doubt about that. And Jermaine Couisnard is so much better off the ball. I mean, he's capable of playing the point, but when he's off the ball, he's much better. He's more confident.
Part of the reason the turnovers are cut down is when he's off the ball. When he's the primary guy, but when he's off the ball, it's more efficient. It really is. And then remember we talked about Texas A&M and their propensity for turning over the opponent and getting steals as well. Gamecocks handled that, right? They only turned it over about 14 times in the game. Same with Mississippi State. That's the only area of Mississippi State where you're like, eesh. But other than that, if you play as efficiently offensively and you handle the inside, this is a game to keep an eye on tomorrow.
Yeah, no question. I agree, man. I mean, it's Carroll. Look, people haven't wanted to acknowledge it because and I understand that. I mean, there hasn't been much of a reason to, I guess, if you're kind of a fringe hoops fan or whatever, or you just can't get around the fact that Frank Martin is still the head coach of South Carolina. You say you choose not to watch it or whatever. But I mean, you've heard me, Darren, and this isn't about me, but I'm one of the vocal ones with our platform in maintaining that I think this team is good enough to play in the dance. Like, I think they're a talented enough team to get there. I've said it all year long. And I'm not basing that just around watching them. I mean, I pair that with people that know a hell of a lot more than I know. And what do they have to say? What do they think?
Mm-hmm.
And, we've kind of kept it on the table that if they can get it clicking, they really do have a chance. A lot of folks don't want to believe that, but they have a chance to now prove it. This week, if you win both games this week, I'm telling you, that starts coming up more and more, like on the SEC network. You start to get more of these national voices because now all of a sudden you got 3 straight quad 1 wins. You'd have I guess that would be a 5-game winning streak. And there's some things to pay attention to. I see, Clint, this is where those bad early losses haunt us every year, it seems, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
This year, the loss at Coastal Carolina wasn't good. The Princeton loss wasn't good, but Princeton, by the way, might still have a chance to win their league, so we don't really know what's going to come out of that. But they don't. Those aren't good losses. Nobody, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But they're nothing like years past. They lost to like Augusta and Boston University and teams like that. I mean, they're not helping you, but they're not killing them either, Darren. But and the reason that I can say that is if they win, if they take care of business in the immediate future, they're gonna be like really in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If those were killer losses, they wouldn't be. They would have to go much deeper into the season before they could get back into the conversation. They might be in it in early February this year. So those, if you look at kind of the timeline with based on how bad those losses were versus how bad we thought they were, they're not as bad as we probably thought they were. They're not helping, and I'm not dismissing them. They clearly, if you if you won those games, you'd be further along in this discussion. But they're not the Bostons or who the hell was it 2 years ago, Darren? It was School of the Deaf and Blind or something.
It starts with a T. Down at Stetson.
Stetson.
Starts with a T. See, Stetson.
Yeah. And they weren't they like net like 300? I mean, it was bad. Like it was like real bad.
They were really bad. In the Share Healthcare chat line, there's Clint Stetson. Clemson chatter in here about another bad loss. I disagree with that. And not only because the Gamecocks didn't have their whole team. Clemson's playing better now, number one. They could be in the middle of the ACC pack. That wasn't a terrible loss on the road, especially when it occurred. The Coastal, I haven't been following Princeton, but if you're hanging right around the bubble and you don't have 20 wins after the SEC tournament, some of those early losses at that point, that conversation could be legit. But the chance is there to play your way in and not even have to have that conversation about, those losses will be, okay, this will hurt your seeding, not whether or not you get in. You can play your way in. That's still on the table. And I agree the Mississippi State games are huge because you don't like the odds against Kentucky. But if you play this way, you like your odds again against Georgia and Missouri. So you're starting to find answers to how do you find 6 when we had that conversation.
That's right. Yeah, you're in the numbers game now. I mean, you literally start to count them. Princeton is leading the Ivy League. They're 5-1, which I think that puts them around 120 or so in the net. I'll have to go back and check from what I saw earlier, but which is, again, not good. And you'd expect an SEC program that wants to dance to be able to beat Princeton. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying, it's not a quad 4 loss. It's not. So, there's at least a little bit more meat on that bone than there has been in years past to compare.
Yep.
All right, 12:30 on a Monday afternoon. We'll get more into some hoops later on. The SEC had a great weekend against the Big 12 and the SEC Big 12 Challenge, so we'll talk about that. We do have Gene Sapakoff ahead, but coming up next, Gamecock Central's Mike Yuba. Hang tight, JB and Goldwater Show. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
You're welcome, Patrick.
I'm going to interrupt you here to start this segment because you said something in the first segment, and you're right. I mean, dead on right. Do you know where I'm going with this? You were questioning the most losses in the Super Bowl between two teams. It's this Super Bowl. They've combined to lose 12 games. Yep. Previous record for combined regular season losses in a Super Bowl was 11.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, you know, every once in a while, you know, the whole squirrel finding the nut thing. That's me. Speaking of finding nuts, there's one. If you're looking at him, not in the perverted way. He's just wacky. It's Mike Yuba, Gamecock Central. What's up?
You guys are talking about Tom Brady, so I had to put my Brady stuff up in the background. Actually, I had no idea what it looks like. It kind of looks like he has his head turned backwards. It's like broken. So, yeah, didn't intend to do it that way, but I guess that's kind of how it played out.
Speaking of that, were you the one that made the Aaliyah Boston meme holding up the gator?
Oh, yeah.
You got some pretty good ones, but that one needs some Probably need some work.
And I don't even use Photoshop. I mean, I always say it's like my degraded pictures that I make. And this started during football season last year because I couldn't really, you couldn't go to the games to cover them because it was just different from a media standpoint. So I wasn't at the stadium a year ago. I mean, this past year, the COVID season. So instead of being on the sideline shooting, I had more time when I was watching these games back at the station or back at home. And that's how it kind of began. And it's kind of took on a life of its own. But we like to have fun with it.
Yeah, they always make me laugh, but I saw the Boston one. I was like, well, that needs some work. By the way, if you missed it, Carolina did win yesterday, even though they played a pretty awful second half. They still managed to go on the road and win by 12 points. It tells you how good they are. They can suck for 2 quarters and still win by double digits. It's amazing. Against, by the way, a Florida team that's pretty good. So 21-8-1 are the ladies. Mike, the men are 13-7, and they are 4-4 in the SEC, and they're in the middle of a 3-game winning streak. That includes a quad 1 victory in College Station this past weekend, where they have stayed, and today they're heading over to Starkville to get ready to go tomorrow night against Mississippi State. That's another quad opportunity. And then they have 2 more after that. So 4 straight quad 1 chances. And if Carolina can even the score in those 4, Mike, at 2-2, or hey, do one better, maybe go 3-1 somehow, they have a chance. They're going to start getting into the conversation about, hey, wait a second, could they get in here? So,
yeah,
think about that for a second, Mike. I mean, according to a lot of the fan base, they've been dead in the water, fire everybody, don't let Frank in the building. And all of a sudden they're 13-7 and 500 in league play. You know who else is 500 in league play? Bama, A&M, and LSU. How about that?
Yeah, tied right now for 6 in the SEC. I mean, look, I understand when people look at it, they don't want to look at it in a vacuum. I try to look at this season in a vacuum because, look, you could say, all right, if he doesn't make the tournament, this is what's going to happen. Just freaking enjoy the season. Like the God's honest truth, they've won 3 straight games, and you would still think that they're on a 3-game losing streak with some people on social media. It's just like, shut the hell up and just friggin' enjoy the moment, right? And what I like about this team, and one of the stories that I'm doing at Gamecock Central that'll come out later today, after the game this past night against Texas A&M, talking with Jermaine Kuznar, talking with Frank Martin in the post-game press conference, just how much they learned about themselves and how much of a reality check more than anything they got from that Arkansas game. And I think if anything, look, it's one game at a time mentality. We've seen this with this team before in the past in Frank Martin years, right? Where they start off slow in conference play, then they just figure it out. But usually that's just not until the end of conference play. If they're able to get this going right now, and we'll see, like you said, you got a good quad 1 opportunity tomorrow night against Mississippi State. You got to find a way to get that momentum. But I think truly, if that is the case with this team, and we see this team continue just to flip the switch, I think a lot of that has to go back to what we saw in that Arkansas game, that it was a reality check. It was a wake-up call. Some of the greatest teams in sports have gone through something that is like that, right? Either it's a moment, either it's a game, either it's just a half. And that was the case with South Carolina. They just had a bad half against Arkansas, did a lot of good things in that first half. But you know what, too? The game the other night, you're going to get Woodley back, too. Woodley wasn't with the team. He had the birth of his child. I mean, I like what we're seeing with this South Carolina team right now. But at the end of the day, just one game at a time mentality and just enjoy it. But stop being so freaking negative. Like, good Lord, who pissed in your Wheaties?
People need to listen to us more because we've been pretty much discussing the positive trends over the last 3 games. And I just laid out some of the ways that they can really go win this game. Like, realistically, can go to Mississippi State and win this game. If you play well defensively and handle on the inside, one thing you've been doing great all year long anyway, then you should be in this game.
And I'm interested to see, Jamie, I'm interested to see if the lineup stays the same. Will they stay with Carter at guard? Because one of the things
Jacoby Wright's the point guard, Mike. He needs to be the starting point guard.
Well, and look, whether it be Wright, whether it be Carter, it was trying to change things up. And I know, look, I got frustrated too, and I'm sure a lot of Gamecock fans get frustrated sometimes with this team. It just seems like settling for threes. I mean, I asked Frank Martin this about a week ago. about that. And he's like, we don't have an identity in the paint. And some of that has to do with our bigs, but some of that has to also do with our guard play. And when you hear about, I need my guard to have a personality, going back to that Arkansas game and Frank talking about after the game, some people felt that it was a little bit harsh on Jermaine Couisnard. First off, when you sign up to play for Frank Barden, that's what you're going to get. You know what you're signing up for. So put that aside. But we've seen not just the play in the paint improve, but we've also seen Jermaine take that next step. And hopefully, we've heard it from Frank, he's in a good place mentally right now, the best place that he's been in quite some time. Hopefully this, whether he's the starting point guard, whether it's Jacoby Wright, they're able to just be able to continue to attack the paint, because Frank wants the ball to go there first and then be able to go to the outside, not just settle for threes like we saw in some of those losing streaks.
Guard play. I mean, and guard play was good this past Saturday night. I mean, by the way, James Reese does not get enough credit. This young man is a really good basketball player, and he has been really good all year. Stevenson, you can tell has absorbed the leadership role in this team. Jermaine is better off the ball, and when he is off the ball, he is really good. Keyshawn has been streaky, but he's a guy who, as they continue to get more in the flow, he will get more in the flow. Josh Gray is one of those type guys. He's learned more about it. You mentioned Frank, and I just saw Tim Frisbee tweeted to us and said, you can see that Frank has not lost his team. The team believes, and they're playing hard. I agree with Mike. Let him play and enjoy the moment. I want to touch that for a minute too, because and this is, guys like you and I, Mike, when we're positive in a time when people feel like you should be negative, they make fun of you. They won't do it to your face, but they do it behind your back. But I mean, let me, those that jump on message boards and social media and say things like, I am so tired of watching Frank scream at these players. You just said something a minute ago. Do y'all really think that these guys didn't know they were going to get yelled at by Frank Martin when they committed to the program? I mean, we all know what Frank does on the floor. What we don't know is what goes on in the locker room. And there's a reason why these guys put up with this stuff publicly, because of what happens behind closed doors. So, getting out there and slandering Martin and all this stuff about how he acts and when he says the F word, like we've never heard that. That's a bunch of crap. It's to fit a narrative, that you don't like Frank Martin because he hadn't won enough games. You can say he hadn't won enough games, but don't point to that as the reason why they ever struggle. These players know exactly what they sign up for. Hell, he makes sure they know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you don't like Frank Martin, if you don't like a coach for baseball or football or whatever, I mean, you're entitled to that, and we understand why there's a lot of frustration because of the tournaments, right? The lack thereof. But at the same time, too, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. That's not to say that if things, complete 180 right now in comparison to what we've seen over these last 3 games, complain, gripe, do whatever you want to do. You're entitled to that. But at the same time, too, it blows my mind sometimes. And growing up in a pro sports town, it blows my mind sometimes just how people look at things and they just can't enjoy it. That's not to say you can't be critical. We'll be critical. I mean, shoot, I grew up in friggin' Boston. The Patriots were winning 11, 12, 13 games a year. And I could tell you, sports talk radio, it was all negative because they didn't know what else to talk about. It's so things are great. Tom Brady's here, Bill Bell, so I get it. And I know it's a little bit different because people are more on edge about the future of this program and what if they don't make it to a tournament. What I've liked about this team, though, is that we've seen them start to gel a little bit more. Defensively, that hasn't been an issue. It really has not been an issue from start to finish this season. There might be a game or two you could point out, maybe that Florida game. You could think maybe Auburn, but I mean, shoot, Auburn's the number 1 team in the country, and that was what your first or second conference game of the year, and that's your first, the team that you have to go up against. I do like this team, and you mentioned
at least thank God they did it then.
Yeah, but you know what I like about Stevenson? He reminds me of, in a way, is Frank Booker. Seeing him the other night, he had no freaking points scored at one point. No points, right, in the second half. And there was a loose ball. Now, granted, USC didn't come up with the ball. I actually think because of that, South Carolina actually turned the ball over. But did you see Stevenson diving on the deck, trying to get the loose ball? He had no points at that point. And I used that moment, and I point that one out specifically because that's a good sign That's a good sign. This team keeps busting their asses, and I love it because, it'd be one thing if the team wasn't playing well and no one's showing effort. They're showing effort, and if they're able to make some of these shots and you have that effort there on top of that grittiness of Frank Martin, that identity that he wants his team to have, something special can happen. And if they're able to get some of those shots to drop, I mean, shoot, their defense is good enough to be able to win them some games.
Well, I mean, look, classic Frank Martin teams win, like their defense travels and it transitions, which is why transition offense is such a big stat under Frank Martin. It always has been. But your offense in a Frank system, when you're clicking, it's because of the defense. And that's what we've seen. That's why I mentioned last week when they, after those 2 games, and I know they had second half comebacks, but those runs that they got on, and it was like, you saw it again this weekend too. And I literally texted a buddy of mine. I was like, here we go again. Here it is. It's like all of a sudden the light bulb is coming on, and cohesively they're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to go. And it becomes fun. And then they're just out there playing basketball, and it's becoming natural. And they're not thinking, they're just playing. The ball is moving around. We have seen this literally for 10 years under Frank Martin at South Carolina, and we saw it for 5 or 6 when he was at Kansas State. We know what his good or better teams look like. And I didn't say this as a fan last week, like trying to throw out false, a false narrative, Darren, or trying to overhype something that wasn't there. Mike, you've been covering Frank Martin for 6 or 7 years now. Mm-hmm. We know what it looks like when it starts to turn the corner. You can see it and feel it, and it's gradually getting there. And like you said, before February. So that's good.
It's big. I mean, look, last season, I know some fans aren't going to easily dismiss it. I dismissed last season. I can't look at last season. I mean, they didn't have the month of December to practice, and it's kind of like math with this defense, right? You can't be able to do multiplication if you don't do, the basics of 1 + 1 and 2 + 2. I mean, that's what Frank Martin's defenses are like. You have to be able to put the basics in before you take that next step. And unfortunately, last season, not having that month to be able to practice, it threw them off a lot. And I know we can sit here and we can try to pull different things. And, there's certain quotes that Frank has talked about. I'm sure some people will look at it as an excuse, but the reality is this. They didn't have Jermaine Couisnard in a lot of those games early on in the year, right? You think to that Coastal Carolina game. The Keyshawn Bryant's missing a couple games at the beginning of the season too. And then Woodley getting here as late as he did, right, in coming on to the team. Guys that were still in December, unfortunately, with that bad luck and catching some unfortunate breaks with COVID. I mean, they have gone through their struggles this season. Now, knock on wood, if they're able to stay healthy, if they're able to stay out of protocol, if they're able to be on the court all together like they have in these last couple of games, we've seen what they've been able to do. And look, this is something that, like you mentioned, Amy, if they're able to start getting it to click right now, even if they have a hiccup tomorrow night against Mississippi State, I mean, no disrespect to Frank and the boys. I don't think any of us expect them to win out the regular season. But if you do have that hiccup, how do you respond back to it? And if you do have that hiccup, what does that hiccup look like? Is it a hiccup where, you're in one of these battles? You think back to some of the wins they've had. I think it was earlier in the year against Vanderbilt or Florida State, right? And it came down to the wire. If you're on the other side of that and you show that fight, can you take something positive away? Or is it one of those nights like we had against Florida the other night where they just got their teeth kicked in? So that is what I'm interested in, is if when they do have that moment where they do suffer a loss over these next couple of weeks and next couple of months, how do they respond back from it? Because they have certainly shown that fight in years past, but that confidence, it was lacking, but they've been able to find it these last couple of games.
Absolutely.
And this is why this is a big game. Someone pointed out this Mississippi State might be the 2 most important on the stretch. If you think that Georgia and Missouri are also going to be wins,
yeah,
I'm still kind of going through these numbers as everyone's talking. I'm big into the Ken Pom stuff because he's a genius. I don't
even understand this.
Oh,
I look at him, I'm like, what?
Yeah,
forget it.
Mississippi State's strengths offensively, they're a very, very good offensive team, but their strengths match up with what South Carolina does best defensively. Offensively, South Carolina will not look good on paper against most people, but that's been the way the trend has been until recently when they've been more efficient. Defensively, over the course of the year, their strengths match up with Mississippi State's. They don't take a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes. What they do plays into what South Carolina does. I'm telling if they can be efficient offensively again, and I keep going back to this offensive rebounding thing because Mississippi State gets a ton. If they can handle that and be efficient offensively, this game is circled on my board already.
Yeah, this look, hey, this Mississippi State game, I don't want people to be fooled by that 4-3 record. I mean, this is how good they are, just so everybody knows. I know they had a bad loss at Ole Miss to start. Ole Miss isn't good this year, but since then, they beat Georgia. They beat Alabama at home by 2. They went to Florida and only lost by 8. They beat Ole Miss again, and then they only lost by 8 on the road at Kentucky.
That game was fabulous. It went to overtime, too.
Great game.
They played their tails off.
Yeah. Like, I was shocked to see what Texas Tech did to them on Saturday. I didn't see that. I didn't know that they'd win the game. I'm not saying that. They lost by 26 points. Like that, something was off there. They're not that. So nobody needs to get false hope by looking at oh God, they lost by 26. No. This team is very capable.
And I know they have to play Mississippi State twice. So there'll be, obviously one game on the road, one game at home coming up later on. But if you look, and I know there's going to be people that are doing this, and Darren, maybe you're one of those guys right now, which isn't like I'm not picking on anyone. It's the reality. At some point, I mean, these games matter, right? You can't just say, okay, they're going to have to win X amount of games. Now, I'm sure some people are floating that 7 number out there, right? Like, all right, win 7 of these last 10. Whatever number that is in your head, when you look at this schedule, even though they have to play Tennessee, Kentucky, LSU still, all 3 of those games, which are the toughest ones, I'd say, on this list coming up, they're all home games. All home games. So, look, I don't know. I mean, it's been quite some time, it feels like, and no disrespect to our friends over at Colonial Life Arena, whoever puts the attendance mark in. Sometimes those numbers can be a little fishy, right? Point being is this. They win against Mississippi State. You have a 4-game winning streak coming in to that Saturday, the following Saturday against Tennessee, or I should say this upcoming Saturday.
Which is on game's on national TV on CBS, by the way, at 1:00.
At home, we might be able to see something that we have not seen in a long time at Colonial Life Arena, which is being able to have a home court advantage, something that, outside of women's basketball, we just haven't seen it for men's. I mean, and I'll say this, the student section, and give a lot of credit to the university and the athletics department. They've done an outstanding job with promoting the hell out of the cockpit. And that student section has been absolutely incredible since they've got back the second half of the year. But I mean, to be able to see that stadium, I mean, I got here 2016. So I remember that Final Four run with that team and just the energy, the atmosphere, right? Of, Dwayne Otis came down and hit a 3 and just, the firehouse threes, the signs going up. I haven't seen that for a men's basketball game in quite some time. This could be it, but you have to be able to get the win tomorrow night against Mississippi State.
I agree. Look, even if they don't win tomorrow night against Mississippi State and they fall to 4-5, this Saturday game is still enormous, and fans need to understand that. Like, I'm trying to go. I'm trying to get up there, just so you know, Mike. If I do, I'll let you know. It's just a coordination.
We got an air mattress right here.
Kids.
We got an air mattress. We got some whiskey jam for you, whatever you need.
Oh, I'm in. But if you live in Columbia, go to the game. Like,
a Saturday. There's nothing. What else is going on? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way if the women's rugby team's playing or anything like that. But what else is going on in town? NFL playoffs, it's Super Bowl time now. You have no reason. If someone's getting married, send them a present. Who gives a crap? Go to the game. Go to the game. Bring that environment. I mean, I hope they do win because I want to see that place the way that it used to be. And because I truly believe when that place gets loud, and we've seen
it's loud.
We've seen it with the student section. And Frank's talked about it, the players have talked about it. They feed off of that. We saw those runs against Georgia. We saw that run last week against Vanderbilt. One of the reasons why they have been playing so well at home down the stretch and going on those runs is because of that student section. And if you have more people in there, shoot, I don't know. I don't know what it could do. I mean, I'm not saying the fans are automatically going to make, South Carolina go out there and look like, I don't know, shoot, the Georgetowns of old or, the Dukes of old, or North Carolina. Probably shouldn't say those two schools because people hate them here, but I'm just excited. I'm excited, but deep breath. Gotta take care of tomorrow night first. Gotta take care of tomorrow night.
Gotta win tomorrow night,
because that'll get more believers. I mean, even though they've lost 3 of 4, Mississippi State, JB just laid it out. Like, it's a good team offensively. They're a really, really good team. If you go there and beat them, then that's gonna open a lot of eyes. Then there's more talk about that game also Saturday when they've got game day going on. There's more eyeballs on that game, and it's just another opportunity.
I agree, man. I absolutely agree. And this is it's a big week for Carolina basketball and chance, which is something that nobody thought they'd have about a week ago. So, by the way, that Tennessee coming in, they'll have A&M tomorrow night. A&M's trying to snap that losing streak. Vols lost against Texas in the Rick Barnes Classic by 1 point.
Yeah, 4-game losing streak right now for Texas A&M. And they're a team that has been in a lot. I mean, you look at some of these games. They've been in a lot of those games.
Been in all of them.
You know?
They're just not used to winning, Mike. They're not used to winning, man.
You know what's going to happen? A&M's going to find a way to beat them, and then Tennessee's not going to come in as juicy on the resume. I mean, bottom line is a win, but it'd be nice if that, if it was a little bit juicier, wasn't left underneath that heat lamp a little bit longer and comes into Columbia not as juicy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a good comparison.
So you want both to win. You want both to win tomorrow night, then. You want the Vols and the Gamecocks to.
Oh, by the way, believer, and I had a conversation with someone because there'll be people that just want to see Frank do bad, and I get it. If South Carolina made the tournament and they lost in the first round, I have a feeling there'll still be a lot of people saying, "Oh, see, told you, gonna go the first round." So I'm saying all that because. Just enjoy the freaking ride. If Mississippi State loses to South Carolina tomorrow and you're like, you know what? Oh, I don't want to go to the game because screw Frank. Really? I mean, come on. I'm not even necessarily a Gamecock fan, but I'm like, if I want to see my university, my pro sports team, whatever, do well, that's not the right mentality. I'm not going to tell you, I donate this. Good for you. Here. Put a bumper sticker on your car. I don't really give a crap. I'm not one of those people. I don't care. You tell me, it's your money. Good. Great. Go to CLA. Go get a hot dog and a beer and watch the game.
I think those people, if that happens, what the Gamecocks are going to have to do to get there, if they get there, they're going to look good getting there.
Yeah.
So if they get there and, okay, now you're losing my sense is I'll probably tell all those people to go kick rocks because these next couple of weeks, they're probably going to look good if they get there.
I'm just excited that there's a possibility that CLA could actually be rocking for the first time in quite some time for a men's basketball game.
I don't know. The university, they've got the ladies have somebody this weekend too. Who is it? Oh, hold on. Everybody, easy, pal.
I should know this. I mean, my head's spinning between football, basketball, baseball, tiddlywinks. I feel like every sport's going on right now. South Carolina will be playing.
No,
is Thursday against Alabama, so not necessarily a big one. And then on,
I think it's before the LSU.
Oh,
LSU,
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, we were talking about this last week, Darren. I mixed up my weeks. Yeah, the weekend of the LSU game, which is the 19th, the ladies host the Volunteers of Tennessee that Sunday. So maybe the university could come up with a combo package to get tickets to both games.
Craig says Frank doesn't lose first round games typically. No, I hear you, Craig. I'm throwing out the hypothetical.
I don't think he's ever lost a first round game.
No, and I'm throwing out the hypothetical because my point being is there are just people that just don't want to see him back next year, and I get it. You have every right to feel whatever the way you want to, but I just don't understand those people that can't enjoy when this team is having success. You can still have both thoughts. It's okay. But enjoy the success. Oh, my team's on a 3-game winning streak. But you know what? Screw Frank. This doesn't change this. One tournament appearance in 10. What does that have to do with anything? It's 3-game winning streak. Just be happy.
Well, those aren't fans, Mike. Those are people that.
Well, I have to deal with one of my buddies who's a former Gamecock. Went to the university, not an athlete, and it's the same stuff every week. I honestly feel like it's copy and paste, and I'm just in the group chat. I'm just like, wait. Did they just win their 3rd game, or is this from like 2 weeks ago? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Get pissed off when they don't win. That's fine. Do what you want to do, but when things are going well, be happy.
as Darren has said oftentimes around here, as it pertains to coaching changes, not just in hoops.
Yeah.
Let's get through the season. Let's see what it looks like. Let's not be jumping around on game to game. Thank God fans aren't ADs, Mike. Nobody'd have a job, or everybody'd have a job at some point, I guess. Is probably the other way to look at it. All right, hey, look, I know we got to let you run, but so what's the deal? Are you going to break the Brady news, or are you holding off on this? Is he retired? Is he not retired?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking down at my phone right now. Giselle just texted me, so I'll have to call back to find out. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I had Giselle's number. Yeah, we'll wait and see how everything plays out. And before I do wrap things up, obviously with the tragic passing of a Gamecock great and a Miss USA with
Awful.
Chelsea. I want to you're not alone out there, people. You hear it all the time, but it's the God's honest truth. Reach out. I had so many people reach out yesterday. I put something out there. My DMs are always open, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily have to be the person you go to, but reach out to people. Reach out. People do care about you. You are loved, and it just stinks. And anyone that was affected by that, the Gamecock family, her family, you're in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, that was just awful news. I mean, you look at somebody who you think, wow, living on top of the world, with every
game. She was I remember her being at the Gamecock football game a couple of years ago, leading things off. I mean, it's just 30 years old. It's just crazy.
Yep. Yeah. Unbelievable. Well said. Well said. Mike Yuva with Gamecock Central. Lots of good stuff is coming our way from the Central gang over the coming weeks, coming days and weeks.
Big stuff coming. Big stuff.
Looking very much forward to that. We will have Wes Mitchell here tomorrow, so we'll have a back-to-back, a double dip, if you want to call it that.
How about that?
Gamecock Central on Monday and Tuesday to crank up our week. So good stuff, Mike. Really appreciate it. I know you and I talked a little bit on the phone this morning. Good to talk to you and catch up with you. And looking forward to getting you back on here soon. We'll keep our eyes peeled as well. I know there's some good stuff coming down the pike.
Absolutely. Appreciate both of you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you there. There you go. Mike Yuva with Gamecock Central. 1:00 on a Monday afternoon. It's the final day of January. Thank the good Lord, Pete. If I had to rank my months.
Also known as something else, by the way.
January 31st.
Yes. And a birthday for a Darren Goldwater.
Today's your birthday?
Sure is.
What have I been under a rock for the last 2 years?
I don't exactly.
How did we not plan this better?
We've talked college basketball for an entire hour. That's good for me.
Yeah, we did that. What?
Gift.
Everybody's like, these guys really know each other and like each other. Because I didn't announce mine either back on December the 12th. So, Craig, Jamie, Adam, we expect Clint, we expect a birthday party. Y'all have missed both of our birthdays. We had to. Darren had to tell you. I've had to tell you a month and a half later. So somebody throw us a party and let us know when and where to be. We'll be there. Congratulations to Darren. We will get more information on his birthday festivities when we return. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. Sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Well, it makes sense now. Final hour of the JB and Goldwater show on the final day of the month of January, which is also apparently known as the birthday of Darren Goldwater. So if you are just tuning in, send him a nice note and wish him happy birthday. I feel confident in saying you'll probably be celebrating with your family at Dog and Duck.
Clint, was that Clint? Yeah, there you go. So he
Clint throws that out already. Oh yeah.
It's a pretty good bet. That place has been very, very good to me. On the weekends, I've been turning it. Not just me. There's like 3 or 4 of us who turned it into our own personal sports book. I mean, Sunday I had the remote with me for the front 5 TVs so that we could make sure we had everything set up to our liking. Saturday and Sunday. So, I mean, it's been very, very good to me.
You sound like another guy that I know who hung out at other establishments. And everybody knew him, and he had the remotes, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, it makes sense. So let me tell you why. Because today is also known as National Backward Day. Because you are so backwards with everything.
Yeah.
This is celebrating you. You might wonder, by the way, just to have some fun. Oh, by the way, we will talk sports again, and we do have Gene Sapakoff coming up. You might wonder, what in the hell is National Backward Day? Are you wondering that, Darren? Without questioning
I
whether
turn my shirt around or like my hat around or
pretty
something.
much, yeah. It honors everything backward with National Backward Day. It's an opportunity to reverse our ways, our direction, or simply our shirt. How about dessert for breakfast? That's backwards. But here's here are ways to observe National Backward Day, according to the handy dandy National Day calendar. Everybody hold on to your pants here.
There you
Go out the back door. Have dinner for breakfast and breakfast for dinner or dessert. Instead of coming unglued when you're upset, get glued.
Oh.
Add coffee to your milk.
Huh.
Do your work in reverse order. Well, now, how will we do that? Say goodbye instead of hello when answering the phone.
That maybe I'll do. Because I'll have a chance to do that, right? Because all the relatives will start calling at some point today, and I could easily just start answering goodbye.
This is kind of funny. Twiddle your pinkies and not your thumbs. Write your name backward.
How?
Write an entire sentence backwards. Run the bases backwards in baseball. That would get you in some trouble. Watch a movie backwards. And rewind, but you can't do that. Read a book starting with the last page. Play a record backwards or CD or whatever. Anyways, that's a bunch of the stuff. But fun fact: did you know Leonardo da Vinci wrote backwards?
No,
didn't know that. Yeah,
lots of big sports names share this birthday. Nolan Ryan, Jackie Robinson, Ernie Banks. Yes, January 31st. Roberto Clemente. Let me check on that. There are a couple of. I always thought I was destined to be an athlete because there are a lot of guys. No, not Clemente.
No, well, still, Jackie Robinson and Nolan Ryan's good enough for me.
Yeah,
so.
that'll work. Yeah.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Buddy sent me a text because I'm 42. And he said, you can make it like Jackie Robinson because he wore it well. And it's his birthday as well.
That's right. It's a good point. Very interesting. All right. Good stuff. Bengals Rams in the Super Bowl. If that's something you want to get into, send it our way. We will obviously hit on that with Gene Sapakoff again coming up here in just a little while. Other things that happened this weekend, the SEC Big 12 challenge. Now, what is this? Clint? Gerard Gerald was killed in an auto accident. Oh, wow. I did not know that. I'll have to look into that. The SEC Big 12 challenge took place this weekend, and the SEC, I think the 6-4, I think was the end result with the Southeastern Conference winning 6 of the 10 games that took place on Saturday. So congratulations to the league for that one. The results: Auburn pounded Oklahoma, beat them by 18 points. Alabama upset 4th-ranked Baylor, beat them by 9. Kentucky walked into Kansas and walked out by shredding the Jayhawks. They beat them by 18 points on their home floor. It was something to see. Texas Tech with a 26-point win over Mississippi State. By the way, Mississippi State, everything we've talked about with them, Gamecocks get them tomorrow night. They are 0-4 away from home, so they've certainly struggled when they've been on the road. That game was in Lubbock. Texas survived against Tennessee in a 52-51, pretty ugly basketball game in the quote-unquote Rick Barnes Classic, if you like it. TCU, this was surprising to me. TCU's had a nice year. But it had a 9-point win over LSU at home. At the time, it was 19th ranked LSU, but TCU is 14-4. They're a pretty good program, the Horned Frogs. Iowa State with a 17-point win over Missouri. And then from there, it was all the SEC. Arkansas by 9 over West Virginia. Ole Miss beat Kansas State by 11. And you also had Florida taking care of Mike Boynton and Oklahoma State by 9. So 6-4 in favor of the SEC. So that was a good weekend.
I had the TCU one. I had the Alabama one. I had a ridiculously good Saturday. I went 15-7, by the way, on Saturday. LSU is a mess without Pinson. Until they get him back, they are going to keep falling. They're a disaster without Pinson on the floor. And TCU is part of the depth of the Big 12. I mean, I answered your little preview on Twitter with your joke, SEC's better than the Big 12. They beat them this weekend.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah. So the depth of the Big 12 and the Big 10 too is ridiculous. The Big 12, I went through a whole bunch of different, the rankings for the conferences. Almost everyone has it this way. Big 12, separated from the pack a pretty good bit. Then Big Ten, SEC, and then the Big East are, I mean, throw them in a hat and pull one out. I like the Big Ten a little more because of its depth, but the top of the Big East and the SEC, I like a lot.
Yeah, let me tell you how close it is out there. I actually don't think that any of these leagues can lay claim to a slap down, we're the best league in the country, period. And I know that Jay Billis said it this weekend or this past week. He thought that the SEC was the best league in the country. I don't know that I agree with that because I don't think that there's enough that separates it all. I did some homework, and I had done that before your tweet, Darren. I did it this morning. In the top 100, how about this? The Big 12, they have. Everybody does realize the Big 12 has 10 teams, right? Just everybody knows that. All 10 of their teams are in the top 76 of the net rankings. All 10 of them, and they inside of the top 50, they have 6 programs with an average of 16 in their net rankings.
Yeah, I think they're all top 30. Actually, those 6.
Oklahoma's at 34.
Oh, are they?
At 34. Yeah, they're just outside of it, but they have an average net ranking the entire league does of 35.1. The Big Ten has 12 programs inside the top 100 of net rankings. The Big Ten also has 8 programs inside the top 50 at a net ranking average of 22.5 and an overall average of 45 of those inside the top 100 when you include Rutgers and Nebraska, because even though they suck, they're still in the league. Yeah, it's an average net ranking of 61.07. And then when you look at the SEC has 11 of the top 100 net rankings in the country, and they have 8 teams in the top 50 as well with an average of 24.75, and of those 100, an overall average of 40, which is 5 spots ahead of the Big Ten and 5 spots behind the Big 12. So, and then when you look at the conference strength of schedule, actually the Big East has the strongest strength of schedule at 0.574, then the SEC at 0.572, and overall conference ratings, the Big 12 at 592, and second is the SEC and the Big 10, both at 580. So I say all of that to say that there is an argument for the SEC based on one data point. There's an argument for the Big 12 based on one data point. There's an argument for the Big 10 based on a data point. There's probably a little bit less of an argument overall for the Big East, but when you look at strength of schedule, they have an argument there to say, hey, look, we should be in this conversation. They've been forgotten about in a lot of these conversations. They shouldn't be. So here's what I'm getting at. I think what this is setting up for is where you're going to have 4 leagues, and then we'll see what happens with the ACC. Pac-12 is tough right now. The ACC, if they can get some things put together, they have a chance, but they're not going to be, Darren, in my opinion, as it stands today, they're not a top 4 league. And of these 4, it's probably just going to keep kind of rotating, and whoever starts playing the best basketball at the end of the year, it's probably going to be the league that has the team that comes out and has a chance to win the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, the ACC is not a top 4 league, not right now. And Debbie Antonelli was right on it. She's immersed in the league, and she calls a bunch of their games. It's better than it gets credit for, but it deserves to be where it is. I think the casual fan looks at it and they're like, oh, the ACC is down. They are down, but that doesn't mean that Miami can't come and nail you on a given night, or same for Florida State, Virginia Tech, which is an odd team, Duke, for some reason, continues to be a little bit undervalued. They were undervalued against Louisville. I think they're undervalued again tonight against Notre Dame. Like I said, I think it's the Big 12 pretty comfortably. But then those 3, I personally think it's Big 10 then SEC. But those 3, Big 10, SEC, Big East, they're all neck and neck. I mean, they're jumbled right up there together. It makes for, that's why Saturdays for me are so much fun right now. There's 150 games on, and a lot of these leagues have, now that we're into the heart of conference schedule, some prime games all throughout the day on Saturday. I mean, these Saturdays to me blow away college football Saturdays.
I would not go that far to say that personally.
Yes,
but you're entitled to your opinion. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, we have to, in basketball, at the end of the year, it comes down to matchups in a tournament. I mean, you have one game to play, you either win it and you move on or you don't.
That's right.
And so, I generally start getting into. I love these ACC Big Ten challenges, SEC Big 12 challenge things this time of year, because I do feel like it should carry some weight moving forward. And you look at what happened this weekend, and it's easy to look at the top and say, okay, well, based on net rankings, you got Bama, who, but by that stat, is the 5th best team in the SEC, and they whipped up on the best team in the Big 12, right? And
really,
then
really good at home, Alabama.
Really good at home. Yeah, I mean, it could have been different on the road, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it still beat them. Another data point for me: Ole Miss 116 in the net rankings, and they beat Kansas State. And you go, well, that game means nothing. Pretty much, no, it doesn't mean anything. But if you're talking about strength of league, you're talking about a team that was, 40 points underneath them in the net rankings, a bottom feeder in both leagues, and it was in favor of the SEC. But then, you look at the Big 12 and you go, okay, well, Tennessee, maybe the 3rd best team in the league. Texas clips them. How much weight is on that? LSU, 3rd or 4th best team in the league for the SEC. TCU, the 7th or 8th best team in the Big 12, and they're able to dispatch LSU. So you can't always argue, well, our best team beat your best team, or our 5th best team and beat your 1st best team. But I do think that there should be some credibility given to that argument to carry it forward as we start to get into February, and we're only playing league games. This will be a data point that we'll have to look back on when it comes time to who gets in and who doesn't.
Yeah, it's fair to have that as part of the conversation on the back end of the burner of that conversation, right? It matters. It matters more than bowl games matter. When people start comparing conferences, oh, well, this conference is better because it's a bowl game. We've gone down that road. This matters more. I mean, these games,
it's the regular season.
Yeah, it's the regular season. A lot of these games have meaning moving forward as well. So it certainly matters more. So I agree with that. It's on the back burner of the points where I think it matters, but it'll be a talking point.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. Look, the top of all of these leagues are those, I'd say, of the Power 5 leagues, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 are all really, really good. I mean, I would. Here's an interesting question. If I said, Darren, you have to take it's a 2-team pool. Okay, you have to pick one group of 2 teams to win the either one of those teams is going to be your national champion, who you think could win the national championship. Would you take Purdue and Illinois, Baylor and Kansas, or Auburn and Kentucky? If those were 3 separate groups of 2, which group of 2 would you take with the best chance of a team of that group winning the national championship?
Auburn, Kentucky, Baylor, and Kansas. Is that what you gave me there?
Baylor, Kansas, and then Purdue and Illinois.
Ooh, I just spent a good bit of time this weekend discussing why I think Purdue can win a national championship. But those are 3. It's hard to separate those 3. Kentucky can win a national championship right now. I think more so than Auburn right now. The way Kentucky is gelling right now, my God, they're going to be hard to beat. Yeah, this is the typical type of Calipari team that starts to put it together. They're already uber talented, and then if they can figure it out, it's like, oh my God. It's just, can you be consistent enough in the tournament? It'd be hard. I don't think Alabama can. I don't think Kansas can. So I'm kind of one in each of as I talk my way through it, I'm one team in each of your 3 pods that I think can right now.
What if you had to take one? Would it be the Big 10?
I'll stick with what recency bias in my head. And I know Kentucky just thrashed Kansas on the same, it was Saturday. Yesterday was Purdue. I'm leaning Purdue right now. The balance they have, so that's where I'd lean. But
yeah,
those are 3 equal examples.
I mean, it's again, and I'm not asking the question to make a point. I mean, I would take Kentucky and Auburn for the reasons you just stated. I think Auburn's the best team in the country, and I think Kentucky's playing the best team in the country. And that has nothing to do with the fact that they're in the SEC, and I'm an SEC guy. But I would take those two because again, of all those teams I just mentioned, I think Kentucky's playing as well as anybody out there. But I think Auburn overall, I honestly believe of every team that's been mentioned, I think Auburn might be the best team in college basketball. I mean, I think they could beat you like 4 or 5 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But but I didn't say that to prove a point. I said that because it's another way to have the conversation of what is the best league in the country. And a lot of people look at it and they say, well, the SEC has Auburn and Kentucky. They're the best league in the country. Okay, well, yeah, but what falls behind that? How deep is it? The 5th or 6th best team in the league, the 7th best team in the league, how do they compare to the 6th or 7th best team in another league? And when you start to kind of scramble all of those numbers, it comes out to literally exactly what I said when we started this conversation. You have 8 teams in the top 50 via the net rankings in the Big Ten. The average is 22.5. The SEC has 8. The average is 24.75. It's not that big of a difference. The Big 12 is at 16.66, and that can change overnight with one loss, and you'll be right there at the 22s. So, I mean, it's really like they're all so close neck and neck. You know, the point that I would make, contrary to what yours was earlier, and this isn't saying that you're wrong, I just have a different opinion, is that I don't think that there is this league is just better than the other ones. I don't see that at all. I think the Big 12 took it on the chin this weekend from the SEC, not discrediting the league, but they had a rough weekend in this challenge, which is something people will pay attention to. That being said, I think the Big 12 has 3 or 4 teams that are capable of winning a national championship.
I think that, I mean, it's fair. I mean, because we're sitting here having a discussion about 4 leagues that are, I'll say 3. I mean, look, the Big East can be included in this conversation.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
But so it's easy to have an opinion, take one of them, right? I do think the Big 12 is deeper. The bottom of the Big 12 is stronger, I think, than the SEC. And look, Rutgers has some wins too. I mean, even Rutgers is bouncing up and getting some people. Nebraska, Rutgers has bounced up and gotten some people. It's by the way, first bet I placed tonight was on your Wyoming Cowboys.
All right.
If you want to take a look at that, they got Colorado State. It's a huge game in the Mountain West.
I'll call my father-in-law and let him know we've recruited another fan over this way. Yeah, the only thing, Darren, that I am weary of with the Big East, the top is really good.
Yeah,
bottom isn't good. I mean, Georgetown, DePaul.
Yeah, and how about Georgetown like holding down the league? Because they are not good. I mean, I've been betting against them like religiously every time they're out. It's great.
I mean, you think about some of the guys that are coaching college basketball right now, Darren, and I don't know that that these names have created remotely close to the success that I think the sport would like them to. Patrick Ewing, Penny Hardaway, Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, 3 of the best players we've ever seen, and none of them are really that great of coaches. I mean, comparably to what their peers are doing around them in the same amount of time that they have had as college basketball coaches. I don't know what the answer is, but
Loyola wins it all, Ashley.
That'd be awesome, Ashley. I'd love to see that.
I did a game at Memphis, I don't know, a couple years ago and sat down with Penny. I think it was his first year, maybe his second year. And I came away for that conversation thinking, all in. I am buying stock. But Penny Hardaway and Patrick Ewing have one very, very similar problem. They're not getting the locker room to gel, and they are losing fans at a rapid pace. And Memphis, the following for Memphis, in many ways, it's similar to Georgetown in this too. It's a rabid following. I mean, they weren't great when I was there. I think there were like 13,000 people in the building. It won't fly like that. It won't continue to fly like that. Even if you're pulling in recruits like Penny's done, if you're not getting them to win, and if you're getting into fights with the media because, we've got all this youth on our team, well, you can win with a lot of youth on your team. That's been proven right now in college basketball. You don't start yelling at the media about that. Penny and Patrick Ewing, like they're a marketing disaster right now because they're blaming Patrick Ewing, blaming fans on not coming to watch the games in downtown DC, not on campus, for a team that isn't worth going to see. And they're tossing blame around. The 2 of them right now are trending towards not being around very long.
Yeah, when Carolina scheduled that game, I thought that would be a good non-conference win for them, and it's not at all. I mean, they have not won. This is unbelievable. Is that right? Oh my God! Listen to this. They have not won a basketball game. They haven't won a game, Darren, since December 15th.
Yeah,
against Howard. They lost to TCU following, and then they had a bunch of postponements. And I want to, and I know we got to go, but let's be fair to this conversation, because we saw this last year, and it affects teams differently. But we saw it right in front of our faces last year with Frank Martin in South Carolina when COVID disrupted the season. It was over. I mean, it was over. They just could not figure it out, and we're not good after that happened. So let's give a little bit of leeway in the conversation. I'm not saying an excuse. I'm just saying they had 4 straight games postponed. Providence, Creighton, St. John, Xavier. Of course, probably would have lost at least 3 of those. And then since then, Marquette, Butler, St. John's, Providence, Villanova, Connecticut, Butler. They've lost every game, and only one of them has been close. The most recent game against Butler, they lost by 3 on the road. And they got Seton Hall coming up next. Seton Hall's not good either, so maybe they'll win. I don't know.
That was like I said, I've been religiously going to the Georgetown window and going against them. And yesterday, I even said it to one of my buddies, like, I don't love this because Butler isn't good either. They're holding down the league also.
Yeah.
And they won the game, but it was not a pretty basketball game at all.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. I mean, I grew up close to Maryland, probably closer to Maryland than Georgetown. I grew up a Georgetown fan more than Maryland. It's weird to see them lost in basketball. It's just strange.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did see. Who was that? Ashley. What, quote, outside team has the best chance of making a run this year? I'm assuming best chance of making a run like in the dance. Who can get? I think you're on to something with Marquette. You've been on them for a while, and I don't disagree with that. I like Marquette. But you also mentioned what we're going to see tonight out west with Boise State and Wyoming, and I think both of those
Colorado State,
or Colorado State and Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a hell of a rivalry. By the way, for anybody that doesn't understand it, it's an awesome rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on Boise State. They're pretty good, and I'll say this too. Keep an eye on Wyoming. Wyoming has a real basketball tradition. I've been to their gym before. It's pretty neat in there. And they finally, I was talking to somebody out there. I was talking to my father-in-law who knows somebody in the basketball program out there. And they're like, for the first time in a long time, we actually have a team that resembles who we are at Wyoming. And I was like, man, that might matter. And I just pulled up the record. Yeah, I mean, they're 16-3, 5-1. I knew they were really good. I've watched them play a little bit this year, and they've been impressive. But and they barely lost to Boise State by 3, and that was on the road. And they got another chance to get them coming up this week. So keep an eye on some of those Mountain West teams, man.
Yeah, Wyoming, Colorado State. It's strange to me. I told you I bet Wyoming. I'll leave it at this. But the 3 out there, you think San Diego State, they're not as strong this year. I think it is Boise, and then the 2 we'll see tonight. Colorado State is coming off an absolute thumping at home to UNLV. They were favored by 15, and they lost by, I think, 15 or 16. And they're still favored tonight against Wyoming, even though I think Wyoming's the better team. I'm just scared of Colorado State and love Nico Medved, who was Furman's coach, and I got to know him. He went to Colorado State, so he's got them moving quickly. He's only been there a few years.
Colorado State likes picking coaches in sports from this area. Mike Bobo's been out there. A bunch of guys. Speaking of Bobo, he's back in Georgia. So are a lot of coaches. If anybody's missed that news. We'll dabble in some of it with Gene Sapakoff, talk some NFL, Super Bowl stuff, hoops, and much more right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings. All right, 1:38. How about that? On a Monday afternoon, welcome back, the JB and Goldwater Show on the final day of the month of January. As we start to crank the heat back up, it was awfully cold last week, certainly through the weekend, and maybe a hint of spring coming our way this week. Gene Sapakoff is here every week. He's with the Post and Courier. He's an 8-time Sports Writer of the Year. What's up, man?
Yeah, maybe the last day of January, but it's a beautiful day for baseball or basketball or Super Bowl prop bets today, guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I was just looking at this stat, which I forgot to put in our notes this morning, Darren, so I apologize for that. But Joe Namath, Joe Montana, the only quarterbacks ever to win national championships and Super Bowls. But Joe Burrow is attempting to not only do that, but also become the first quarterback to do both of those and also win a Heisman Trophy. That's never happened before. All 3 of those accolades, Gene. Where would that put Joe Burrow? I mean, he's such a young guy. He's got like 20 years left to play football if he wants to be the next Tom Brady. But where would that put him at such a young age in the realm of things?
I know that would put his agent in a really good financial bracket, but I think that the cool thing, too, is that it looks like he's going to do all those accolades that you just mentioned there, Jamie, in a short 3-year window. It would put him right up there, and this guy is pretty amazing. He's just so cool, and nothing bothers him, and I think he's a 365-day quarterback, too, and by that I mean he's involved in the community. He's encouraging guys, free agents, to come to the team. I mean, I think he's going to be that kind of guy. I'm a little sad that the Bengals lucked into Joe Burrow, because there's been no more cheapskate franchise in the history of the NFL. I love Bengals fans. I love the city of Cincinnati, and even the sports facility situation there, where, Great America Ballpark is really right next to the football stadium. It's such a pretty view there on the Ohio River. But let's just talk Joe Burrow. The guy's ridiculous.
Hey, I didn't realize. I mean, I know it's been a while. The passion for the Bengals fans that you just touched on. There's a guy that I see somewhat regularly, and I saw him after the divisional round, and it was the next day, and I said, "Man, what's up?" I'm still on cloud 9. Then I saw him not long before yesterday's game, and he was as nervous as can be. I mean, this fan base is. I mean, they're all into this. I mean, this is a momentous moment for these guys.
Darren, you're so right. And, we always kind of joke about all the Ohio people in South Carolina. For instance, the River Dogs go back to Ohio night with a one-way ticket to Cleveland and all that. But, there's a southern part of Ohio, too. And there's a lot of those people that have moved down here. And, if you've been in Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky, that's an interestingly regional franchise that draws a lot from Northern Kentucky. If they still don't, they used to have their training camp somewhere in Northern Kentucky, Berea or someplace. And, even Southern Indiana, they draw fans from there too. So this is cool to see. Haven't been in the Super Bowl since '88, I think. And now they, here's the quarterbacks that they've faced in the Super Bowl: Joe Montana, and now Matthew Stafford. So for veteran Bengals fans, I think they got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I agree. I know they almost had to play if they would have faced the Niners, Gene, this would have been all 3 of their Super Bowl appearances. It would have been against the San Francisco 49ers, but Sanford didn't get there. By the way, I've got an interesting angle to this conversation, including Joe Burrow. Is Joe Burrow now the most successful transfer portal player ever?
There can't be a more successful one, Jamie. I mean, He comes there, and here's some of the things about Joe Burrow. Like, I have an Ohio State fan or two that are just, let's see, texting me like every other day about something about Ohio State football, either, very excited or complaining. But the latest was, how could Urban Meyer not see what was going on with Joe Burrow? Well, here's something about Joe Burrow that you can check this out. And I remember SEC Media Days that year and everything. He played, his junior year, or he played that first year at LSU, and he was okay. I think like 16 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. The next year, 60 touchdown passes, like 5 interceptions, wins the national championship, undefeated team. But going into that last year at LSU for him, most people didn't even think he was a draftable player, let alone, maybe late round, 3rd day pick. So a lot of people were wrong about Joe Burrow. And I think some other schools had shots to get him and just weren't that interested in the transfer portal too. So this is pretty freaking amazing.
Did you see his comment to Ohio State fans, basically admonishing him for claiming him when he's all LSU because it's about where you finish, not where you start?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, I think that there was, interest on his part in Nebraska because his dad had coached there, and, they may have not been real interested in him. I have to recheck that. But I will say one thing about Joe Burrow and Bengals fans, and this isn't coming from Joe Burrow, but Bengals fans complaining that poor Joe Burrow has to play a Super Bowl at, on the Rams home field. I don't know what Clemson fans, if they have much sympathy for that, is in as much as Joe Burrow got to play that national championship game in New Orleans, which I realize is not LSU's home field, but it was kind of an advantage for them. Although of course, I think they could have played them in Nome, Alaska, and LSU wins that game handily.
All right, so I did a little research, by the way, for this conversation today. I knew that we'd be talking to you about this Super Bowl matchup. As we all well know, we were all well aware of the stat before they made it, that Cincinnati hasn't been in the Super Bowl since 1988, Gene. So This year, the Bengals roster features Elliott Fry, who is injured, but he's on the roster, and he will get a ring if they're able to win it. Clemson has 3 players who will wear a ring if they can win the Super Bowl. Jackson Carman, rookie offensive lineman, T. Higgins, and defensive tackle DJ Reader. But back in 1988, Clemson and South Carolina and South Carolina State were all represented on that 1988 Bengals roster, which was led by Boomer Esiason, for those that remember. It was South Carolina State defensive back Barney Bussey, one of Darren's favorite players growing up, Clemson tight end Jim Riggs, and one of the great wide receivers to ever play at the University of South Carolina, Ira Hillary. They were all in the Super Bowl that year with the Bengals. How about that stat, Gene? You can take it and run with it if you want.
I like that, but Jamie, you're forgetting the key tie to that Bengals team. Somerville's Stanford Jennings played at Norman and returned a kickoff for a touchdown for the Bengals in that game. And I forgot about Riggs. I remember Hillary and Barney Bussey. He was an underrated player, but Stanford Jennings, wow, that was just that stadium just exploded in Miami when he returned that kickoff for the TD.
So much for my and if that's not enough comment that was coming next. Next time I just lead with what actually happened in the game.
We both would have been in trouble with Green Wave Nation if we forgot about Stanford Jennings.
I know. Well, exactly, and we've talked about Stanford Jennings. I think before Darren was somebody on this show about that moment. As a matter of fact, it's been a long time ago, but anyways, all right. Well, the other side of the coin is that the Rams, they've been there recently, 2019, I believe. They did win a championship as the LA Rams all the way back in 1951. Gene, I'm not sure if you covered that or not. That was before the Super Bowl era, but they're attempting to do it with Matthew Stafford as the quarterback. It's seemingly the year of the dog, so why bet against him at this point in time? But kind of going along with our conversation that we had last week with you, here he is. He's got a chance, and if he can win it, all those records that are in reach of his, they'll have Super Bowl champion next to it. His name will start to be in the conversation with a lot of the greats.
Right, and I think this has a lot to do with his Hall of Fame credentials too, because I think if he wins, he's got a really good chance. If he loses, probably not, but maybe so. I mean, he's been in the Super Bowl. Unlike, say, Warren Moon, who is in the Hall of Fame, Tony Romo, who isn't, guys that have great stats, but not that championship. But here's one thing about Matthew Stafford, and I mean, people repeat this, including some of the top pundits and analysts covering the games and ESPN and all that Matthew Stafford was brought here to go one step farther than Jared Goff. Well, first of all, wait a minute, he didn't replace Jared Goff right the next year. The Rams just weren't very good last year. Okay. And secondly, I don't think you really expected Matthew Stafford to win the Super Bowl or even necessarily get there in a conference that has Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott at quarterback. And, the Rams are a 4 seed. This is a Super Bowl battle of 2 4 seeds, which is weird in itself. But I think just getting to the Super Bowl has, just cemented the genius that was that trade, and Matthew Stafford has achieved enough to, back up him coming to Los Angeles from Detroit. Now, it's a huge next step, that's for sure, but it's by no means a failure if the Bengals win.
I think it's crazy that of these two guys, with the numbers that Stafford has put up in his career, but this narrative of, but is he going to make that mistake? And then the up-and-coming young kid Burrow, the focus for the good quarterback side is all on Burrow, and it's not on Stafford because of, his interception history, I think. I think that's basically it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Darren. And I mean, you just can't argue with that. I just think he has a better cast. Now, he made some really dumb throws late in the regular season this year. Let's face it, including that loss to the 49ers. And, he should have been picked off in the middle of the field late in the game yesterday in the conference championship game. Tart dropped that ball. However, though, I just think he's done such a good job, been such a good teammate, and really knows how to get everybody involved. Look how happy Odell Beckham Jr. is right now. He's just a completely different ball player with a completely different demeanor playing with Matthew Stafford and the Rams than he was playing with the Browns or in those last days with the Giants.
That's a great point, Gene. It's a very unusual Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know anybody out there put money on the Bengals and the Rams being the representatives from their respective conferences.
I can
this
tell you
year.
for the Bengals, just to interrupt, if they win, they'll be the longest long shot to win in a long time. Just the fact that they're here, I think, matches the Rams from about 20 or 30 years ago. They were 150-1 before the year.
Yeah, that's really something. And, as much as we talk about Burrow, and I think he's, if he doesn't get hurt, he's a Hall of Famer. But as far as Super Bowl opportunities, they are really precious. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl the next year, lost the conference championship game the next year. And, I mean, there's going to be pressure on the Chiefs coming into the 2022 season. And there's just so many good quarterbacks and so many good young quarterbacks just with Mahomes. It's quite possible that he's in a division next year that has up and coming Justin Herbert. Wow. Aaron Rodgers for the Broncos with a really good cast. And, who knows if the Raiders stick with Derek Carr or get another quarterback, but whatever, Josh McDaniel will get the best out of them. That's just the division. And I don't think it's the best division in the AFC. So you've got to take advantage of your opportunities when you get them.
Is there anything that it's been a sensational playoff season for the NFL, Gene. I don't think anybody can argue that. I mean, the large majority of these games, almost all of them, have been excellent football games to watch for a majority of reasons, or for a multitude of reasons, excuse me. Is there anything that we could take out of this as we continue to have the conversation about college football moving forward and the expansion of playoffs? Is there anything that could be valuable to that conversation based on what we've witnessed over the last couple of weekends?
Yeah, two things. One, you have to have the at least appearance of a national tournament, which I keep saying. And in college football, when you have four teams and very often three of them are from within, a short drive of each other, that's how it's been a lot of years, it seems like. That's not good for the marketing of your sport. But secondly, you never know what could happen within the tournament. Now, I know we have 2 4 seeds and that you have at least 4 teams. I mean, you have 4 teams right now in the college football playoff, but this is cool. The Rams and Bengals are underdogs. You didn't expect the Rams to topple Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, and you sure didn't expect, the Bengals to jump up over the Bills, the Titans, the Chiefs, and who knows who else. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, Alabama is always in there. Georgia looks like they've got a reserve ticket for the next several years, but in Clemson could be back. And we're in fact, we're in 6 straight and won 2 championships. But yeah, you want at least an 8-team playoff to make things more exciting. And that's what the fans want all over the country. So give it to them.
Gene, Darren, and I threw the question out there. Darren did the research earlier. Here's another free nugget for your next Super Bowl column. This is the most combined losses ever between Super Bowl competitors who will be playing in the game. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's a great stat.
Also, the first time 2 4 seeds that we've brought up in this conversation are in the Super Bowl.
A lot of firsts happening here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and that should go with that. One thing, just real quick, talking about Joe Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Joe Mixon and that great offense. The Bengals won with defense, in Kansas City. And one of the key guys is DJ Reader, that nose tackle, the defensive tackle from Clemson. Jamie, you'll appreciate that. You look at the size of that guy. He played college baseball for Clemson. And I remember being at Founders Park at a Gamecock Clemson game, and he is out there taking grounders at first. And I was with a Gamecock assistant coach, and I said, "What in the heck? What do you think of that?" And he goes, "As long as we don't get any collisions with him, we're good." But I mean, can you imagine the size of that guy? He only played in 7 games in 2013. But he came there as a pitcher and a first baseman. They decided, hey, you're just going to play first base. But, hey, he was on the baseball team, and the sight of DJ Reader in a Clemson baseball uniform was absolutely frightening.
Yeah, he's a large man, and he doesn't look anything like a baseball player. But I'm glad you mentioned that because I had actually forgotten that he was even a part of the squad up there. Gene, a few minutes left. Do want to try to get some baseball in here as well, but also want to make sure that we mention the Gamecocks and Frank Martin. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They've got a quad 1 victory now under their belt, and they have 3 straight chances to get more. Starting tonight at Mississippi State. What have we been watching here as South Carolina all of a sudden has found a little bit of a winning formula?
More contributors, and that's what they have needed. When they were slumping, it was one guy that was going well. Now you're getting 2 or 3 a night with, Stevenson and Reese and Kuznard and some contribution from Keyshawn Bryant, and that's what they need, both Carters. They need to get this game at Mississippi State, and then they go into a 1 p.m. Saturday home game against a ranked Tennessee team, Rick Barnes, Josiah Jordan James from Porter Goud. That game is on CBS, not CBS Sports Network, the real CBS, nationally televised. What an atmosphere that could be if they can come in there with a nice winning streak.
What is – we've seemingly listened to arguments all year long, Gene, game by game, for and against Frank Martin. You've been watching his teams a long time. You know what it looks like when they start to click. Are they starting to click?
The jury's still out because Georgia, just not very good, though they had a nice win after they lost to the Gamecocks. And, Vanderbilt, I don't know, at home. The Texas A&M one was good. They just kind of keep getting better. So if they beat Mississippi State and come in, if they beat Mississippi State, I'm going to say, yeah, they're absolutely starting to click. A couple of SEC road wins. I don't care who they're against. That's something to talk about. And Frank Martin's teams are pretty well known for coming around late, sometimes too late. We'll see this year.
Yeah, comparatively, this is a little bit earlier than generally it's February. Gene, we're not to February yet, and they've won 3 straight. So he's maybe ahead on that timeline a little bit this go around.
Yeah, and 4-4 in the league, Jamie. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I know the overall record isn't great. They still got the yoke of a loss at Coastal Carolina and stuff like that. But if they can start clicking again with multiple contributors, then it makes them so much harder to guard.
How do you measure up the SEC? Darren and I had we rolled out a ton of data points earlier. The Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, even the Big East at times can kind of lay some type of stake to potentially in the best league in the country. I certainly think they're the top 4 leagues in the country, but comparatively, how do you view the SEC versus those others? I mean, they took the Big 12 challenge this weekend 6-4. How much does that matter?
Yeah, and some of those losses were really close, like I think 52-51 Texas over Tennessee. So, I mean, they came close to really doing well in that. I don't know. To be honest, it's just these next few weeks are going to tell a lot there. I mean, you mentioned the Big East. Look at like a team like Xavier that's not – Villanova's the best team in the Big East, but there's such significant depth there in that league, and that's not discussed nearly as much as, say, the Big Ten. So, and hey, the ACC's coming around now where, there was a while back, like even just like 3 weeks ago, you're thinking, wow, 2-3 ACC teams. Now it's looking more like 5 or maybe 6 if some things can fall the right way. So, yeah, these next 3 or 4 weeks, college basketball really is kicking in here. The fun excitement, and if you've got nothing going on tonight at 7,200 feet of altitude, you're going to have 16-3 Wyoming hosting 16-2 Colorado State in the border war.
I am very much looking forward to this. Gene, I know obviously you are a Colorado State guy. I think Wyoming has adopted me, so I appreciate the Cowboys for doing that. So I'm pulling for the Cowboys tonight, but it's a 9 o'clock tip, right?
Thanks.
I'm not really sure, but I do know
that
Nico Medved has done a heck of a job at Colorado State and has a lot of South Carolina ties. So he could be an interesting guy to keep an eye on if, a big Power 5 job were to open anywhere in the SEC or ACC.
Right, Darren. 8 o'clock, Fox Sports 1 from Arena Auditorium. Gene, have you ever been to Arena Auditorium on Wyoming's campus? You ever been inside of there?
I absolutely have, and it's a cool place. They've renovated it some, but most of the renovation is on the outside. Watch a game in that arena, and I laugh a little bit about the sight lines are absolutely terrible. It's built almost in a real circle, not for basketball. I don't know, like for a concert or church or something. But yeah, so you'll be sitting like in those seats, like at about the 20-yard line, kind of, and your seat is pointing in toward the free throw circle. But it's a great atmosphere, and especially when the Cowboys are playing well.
It is neat. It's really neat. I was telling Darren, I've been in there and walked around it, and they have a lot of tradition. There's a lot of history out there. They love their basketball. It's a neat place, and it is a loud place when they're playing well. I bet it will be loud tonight. All right, Gene, what's coming up this week in the Post and Courier?
Once again, I'm just going to kind of point to John Blau, our Clemson guy, and David Cloninger covering the Gamecocks. And I'm going to be talking to Rick Barnes, the Tennessee coach, to kind of preview that Tennessee-South Carolina basketball game. And Rick Barnes has a special relationship with Dick Vitale, and what he's been doing on a daily basis to kind of try to boost Dick Vitale through his well-documented battle with cancer. That's one of the things I'm writing about this week.
Wonderful. I cannot wait to read that. As always, we love reading your columns. We love having you here, and we can't wait to do it again next week. Thanks, Gene.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, sir. There you go. Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier. That's it. So long, January. See you next year. Into February we go. Groundhog Day is coming up. What day is that? Is that Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
And it's National Signing Day. We have Valentine's Day around my wife and I don't celebrate Valentine's Day.
Because every day is, remember?
Yeah. Every day is Valentine's Day. Good point. Happy birthday to Darren Goldwater.
Thanks, man.
Enjoy it, man. Have a wonderful night at the Dog and Duck. Anybody that wants to see him, that's where you want to go.
Probably soon there, and then tonight, the annual birthday Outback Steakhouse trip.
All right. There you go.
Yep.
That'd be great, man. Have a blast. Thanks to Mike Yuva, Gene Sapakoff. See you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show.